Thanks for tuning in. This is Bob West. I'm Chief Compliance Officer with Metal. For those of you who don't know me, I've worked in security for way too many years, but I'm here with Shannon Rowbury. And what we want to do is whet your appetite for our webinar that we're doing on April 28th. And Shannon, how about if I pass the baton to you to let you introduce yourself, and then I'll return the favor after that.
Perfect. Hi, Bob. Good to see you. I'm Shannon Rowbury. I'm a three-time Olympian in track and field. I've been sponsored by Nike since 2007. After I graduated from Duke, where I was undergrad magna cum laude and then also got my master's in with an emphasis on women's studies. I've made 3 Olympic teams, 2 world bronze medals, 4th at the Rio Olympics. World record in the relay, just set the Masters American record in the 5K. You can't just keep on ticking in this sport. And, what I'm really proud of is my consistency and also my advocacy. I've done a lot of work to improve women's sports experience, including being a U.S. Department of State sports envoy to Morocco on a mission for women's empowerment through sport. And I have a nonprofit also encouraging young women in sports. So really, I'm a mother too. So excited to be here with you today and also in the talk in the days ahead.
Thanks, Shannon. And when I grow up, I want to be as successful as you are. So to give you my background, I started working in technology infrastructure back in '84. And started working in cybersecurity in '95. I've done a variety of things, from working with large banks to doing consulting to working in the startup world, where I am now. And I've been on 7 or 8 advisory boards, something in that neighborhood. And
lost count.
Yeah, right. I had the opportunity to meet Shannon 4 or 5 years ago. I'm on the board of directors of the USA Track and Field Foundation, and we met each other at a gala in New York. And I've had the pleasure of becoming good friends with Shannon. And one of the things that I see that is a common trait in between Olympians and being successful in security is the notion of resilience and being very focused. So Shannon, how about if you could give your perspective in terms of what it's taken to be successful and be one of the best middle distance runners in the world since 2007, right?
I was injured in 2007, so talk about resiliency, stress fracture in my hip 1 year out from the Olympic trials, and made my first Olympic team in '08 by winning the Olympic trials and set off my career. And so, yeah, when you talk about resiliency, that is definitely a short story I'm excited to share. My process of kind of, being at one of my lowest career lows at that point and coming back a year later to my career high. I think that track and field and athletics in general is just a little microcosm of life. It's, kind of synthesized down into really these intense short periods of time, but you really learn about yourself, what you're made of, how to overcome very quantifiable challenges and reach goals that may seem big and daunting, but also are worthwhile. And so it's fun for this talk. I love the idea of exploring things at the intersection of old and new, or in this case, CISOs and Olympians, which on the surface seem so relatively dissimilar. Why are we here with the two? Why are we bringing them together? But I think at the end of the day, the success mindset is the same regardless of the discipline. And I think that there's, if you want to be a problem solver in today's world, you need to be able to think laterally. You need to be thinking outside the box. And I think that in conversations like this, you can learn best practices. You can come up with methods and approaches that maybe I as an Olympian have done, or you as a CISO have done, that help us think about challenges in a different way than maybe we had before. I did theater. I was a theater major as well, one of my majors in college. And I always think about my experience as an elite athlete and going into competition in the same way as an improv performer would prepare. And so sometimes this ability to frame the way we think of problems a little bit differently can actually help us have even better results. And I think that really, in these 2 sessions that we're going to be having, that's part of the conversation that we'll dig deep into.
Yeah, and I just have to say that some of the most enlightened people in the world are liberal arts majors. I was a German major in undergrad and took the logical path from German into technology. And
Yep.
I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do in my professional career until I reached this moment of enlightenment a couple of years out of school. And so my first chapter was working in technology. It's crazy to think that I've been working for almost 40 years, which is insane. But along the way, I think there's this theme very similar to what you were talking about, Shannon, is that things change, you run into challenges, and I think success is really determined on how you manage those challenges. Whether they're technical challenges or political challenges or strategic challenges. Everyone gets into trouble, right? In the security world, there's always security breaches. Every company happens to run across one or experiences one. So the question becomes, how prepared are you for it? And acknowledging that it's going to happen, and making sure that all the stakeholders understand that it's going to happen. And ultimately, one of the things that I hear many people in the security industry is that you're one security breach from getting fired. And I would assert that there's a very large percentage of security leadership that, number one, doesn't understand the value of governance, of relationships, and the fact that you don't need to fall on your own sword. The ideal scenario is that you get a group around the table, and you decide what direction you're going, right? Think of it, the security role should be someone that's of counsel to the enterprise. You help set strategy, and you coach the business on where you need to go. But you need to collaborate and make a decision as a group, because otherwise all the arrows are going to be pointed at your chest. So when bad things happen, then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, and you do get fired. And I think, Shannon, going back to your world in track and field, which for those of you who don't know me, I've been running for a long time. I've certainly never run at Shannon's level, but I ran in college and stayed relatively healthy over the years, and I run to stay healthy and compete in my age group. A lot of your success becomes forming a team around you in a support system, and I think that's one of the many common threads in between the security world and track and field. Shannon, you want to give some final thoughts before we end this, and don't give people too much information so they tune in on April 28th?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think, in what you said, so many takeaways, so many corollaries, both, from, when you talked about liberal arts majors, when you think about the jobs that exist today, a lot of them didn't exist 2 years ago. And things that will exist in 2 years from now, we don't even know yet. And so, coming back to the importance of thinking laterally, of being creative, of being able to, use your brain to come up with solutions or pivot in a world that's constantly changing. I think, when you talked about only one security breach away from being fired, it's no different than different, but the same concept of high stakes. And I certainly can speak volumes about that in the professional athlete lifestyle, where it sometimes feels like all the work I've ever done is leading to this one race, and you only have 4 minutes to determine your fate, and it's not always in your own hands. And then of course the team, speaking about, how do you identify the people that you should bring into your inner circle? How do you deal with challenges? How do you, in an environment that maybe is not set up for you to be the most successful, how do you find success, even if they're, carving out your own space? And so, yes, coming back to that once again, on the surface, it would seem Olympians and CISOs not that much alike. I think it really is about the approach you take, the mindset of success, and how do you navigate a complicated, multifaceted world to find that in an environment that's highly competitive. I think this little conversation here is hopefully a glimpse of what you'll be getting when we have our talks, our 2 talks. And it won't even just be us. We'll have some other brilliant minds on the call with us too. So yeah, encouraging everyone to come back and join us for more, and bring questions too. We love questions.
Yeah, absolutely. No, hopefully this has piqued your interest, and tune in on April 28th. You should see the link below. And we look forward to having you participate. As Shannon said, bring your questions, comments, insults. Okay, no insults, but hopefully it'll be an engaging conversation. It'll certainly be engaging on our end. So thanks so much, and hopefully we'll see you soon.